Our friend Scott Hughes on the line, political analyst, watchdog. I'm not sure what you want us to call you this morning. Just we woke you up, I'm sure. But we're going to talk about the mayor's race this morning, Scott, because we now do know that Stephen Jackson is in. He's making his formal announcement on Thursday night. Surprise to you at all?
Well, good morning, Aaron, and good morning, Dan. Not a surprise. I think last time we talked a couple weeks ago, he was the missing candidate. I think he, on my list, becomes the ninth candidate that's in. But I think the only surprise people were looking at is there was some worry or belief, depending which camp you're in, that former Mayor Glover would run himself. And clearly with Stephen Jackson getting in, Jackson's sort of a protege of Mayor Glover. And so this probably signals Mayor Glover is not going to run, signals Stephen Jackson's in, and probably now finishes the field with kind of five major candidates.
Okay. You're going to have Adrian Perkins, Stephen Jackson, Ollie Tyler, Leo Savage, and Jim Talifero as the top five.
That would be my top five, and you know the way Shreveport politics kind of falls out with our open or jungle primary, as it's referred to. You likely are going to have three African Americans, Democrats, running on one side of the ballot, and you're going to have two white or Republicans running on the other side of the ballot. Probably the highest vote getter in those two pools moves on to the finals. But you still have four other kind of, we call them minor candidates. You hate to despair anyone's campaign, but you have Tremarius Dixon, you have John Paul Young, you have Ray Smith, and you're probably going to have Ken Kraft.
Mm-hmm.
And those four individuals together will pull probably, 10, 15%, but that'll be an important 10 or 15%. They'll pull it from somebody.
What kind of campaign do you see from the contenders? Are they going to attack Mayor Tyler, or are they going to tell us what they're going to do? How dastardly do you get with a 73-year-old woman?
Well, I think how they run their campaign could be very telling on how viable a candidate they are. I actually had a conversation with Stephen Jackson last week. I've known him for a number of years. I've known him back since he was a student body president at Grambling State University, and he ran a CDC here in town. He worked for Mayor Glover, and so he called me and we talked a little bit, and he has a very viable strategy. And so I'll just use him as an example. Somebody's going to run in a race of 9 candidates citywide and think that they're just going to go out and attack everybody and get votes from all over. They're probably not going to make the runoff. But if a candidate has a very targeted strategy, and I think in Jackson's case, what he's going to look at is, can I carry my city council district? Or my commission district, I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Can I carry my Caddo commission district? Can I carry a group of people that I've been very influential with, i.e. younger millennials or the Highland Group or some people I've worked with? And so if a Jackson comes in and says, I'm not going to get all of Shreveport, I'm going to go after people that have voted for me before and have supported me, he might be able to get to 15 or 20%. Same way with a Lee Savage with kind of conservative Republicans, or a Jim Talifero maybe with a larger brand of moderate Republicans. You have to have a strategy. And so they will go after Tyler in general, but if 8 candidates are going after Tyler on the same topic, they may not differentiate themselves from the field. At the end of the day, they have to answer, how am I going to get to 20, 25% and get to the runoff?
Scott, have you seen the preliminary, I guess it's posturing? Do you see people understanding their role as mayor in approaching their candidacy?
Dan, it's interesting. Right now, I've seen a couple do that. I think Mr. Talifero is presenting himself as sort of a leader, an executive. He's been in the military. He's had some Crime Stopper experience. I think Adrian Perkins is trying to position himself as that. He's young. He's trying to pull from his background. It'll be interesting to see how Stephen Jackson presents himself. A lot of the others seem to be just sort of throwing themselves out there and saying that I can solve crime, or they want to attack the mayor, what Aaron said earlier. And so I think you're on to a key, Dan, is that at the end of the day, I think the voters are going to want to see someone that they can see being in the mayor's role. It's important to remember, the best I can tell in my memory, Ollie Tyler is the first mayor we've had that didn't actually serve on the city council since we went to the city council form of government. The voters of Shreveport have sort of historical position of liking to see you serve first on the council and then promote you to mayor. Ms. Tyler came across that she was our school board executive. She had run effectively the largest public entity here in Caddo Parish, the school board, for a number of years. And whether you liked her or not in that role, you at least saw her as competent as a manager. And so I think showing that you can be a competent manager and administer not just the police department and the safety, but what doesn't affect a large budget with lots of employees, it's going to be really important.
That you raise a good point. Why are no city council members offering themselves up for mayor? What's the problem?
Well, that's what I'm looking at, Aaron, to be honest, because for years it was a very clear stepping stone. You would run for council, you'd build a constituency in a local area, you'd learn city government, and then at a certain point you'd run. You used to always be council persons. If you go back, Glover served on the council. Hazel Beard served on the council. Bo Williams served on the council. I think all the way back to even John Hussey served on the previous form of that type of what we called the council.
Mm-hmm.
One thing that you're seeing is, the only answer I can give you is, and so I may get yelled at from all over town, but I don't think we've seen a lot of leadership out of the council in the last number of years. I don't think we see council members that are stepping up to run, and or you mix that with the changing demographics of Shreveport. I think you have a situation now where, because the way the numbers play out, it's really going to favor an African-American Democrat running, and we haven't seen a lot of African-American Democrats on the council since Mayor Glover, step up and say, I want to be mayor of the city of Shreveport.
Jackson sent
right
me
now we have a councilman that's fought with the mayor.
Jackson sent me a text yesterday with regard to Adrian Perkins, but it would reign true for some of the others that Perkins has no constituency. I mean, never political office. The same can be said for Taliaferro, for Leo Savage. Where do they get their constituency? How do they build that?
Well, I mean, my immediate gut reaction when you tell me that is Donald Trump had no constituency. I think if you just look at the voter base in America today, there's a real throw all of the insiders out mentality. And I think you're seeing some of that in city politics. I think the city council persons who are there kind of sense that. There's not just because you're on the council, just because you have a constituency might not mean that you are the person with the job. It seems to be that the voter base is very at unrest in this country, very unrest in Louisiana, very unrest in Shreveport. And people are looking for outsiders. They're looking for new ideas. And Shreveport's a city where I think even someone that's pro Shreveport, which most of us are, we're looking at the last number of years, the last decade. I mean, pick a number, and we've not really seen the city move in a new direction. And I think there's a lot of people in Shreveport that are looking at this as a real tipping point. Are we going to continue down a road of what many see as mediocrity? Are we going to make some bold moves and try to kind of knock it out of the park and maybe move Shreveport to a new level? And so it's interesting to see an Adrian Perkins who literally comes out of left field, has no experience, has not even lived in the community in a number of years, seems to be a very bright person, seems to have a very good record of what he has done in his life, and yet he steps into a field with a lot of known names, and instantly, whether you agree with it or not, is somehow one of the top candidates. I think that shows you how much Shreveport voters are looking for someone new, someone with a vision.
Put your wizard hat on. Our last 30 seconds. We vote tomorrow. Who makes the runoff?
If we vote tomorrow, I would say that Jim Taliaferro and Adrian Perkins make the runoff. And not that Perkins is necessarily the most well-known candidate, but he does have some people backing him. He is out running with this leadership approach that Dan referred to a second ago. And, of course, the biggest deal is with 9 candidates in, 5 significant, this is going to be a slice-and-dice race. The first round is going to be different than the second round. This is not about who can win the mayor's race. This is about who can somehow get to 20%, 25%. And even though Perkins is new and unknown, I think he has some politics behind him back through the Greg Tarver camp and some historical Shreveport politics that may carry him that far. The field you could argue the field's that weak.
Scott Hughes, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Aaron and Dan.